We begin today the Gemara, 5 lines down from the top of the Yamid on Daf Mem Beis Amud Aleph. Tanya Idach. The Gemara here is discussing the pasuk of Baal Hasher Naki, which says in the pasuk, which speaks about a shur that Gordon killed someone. So in the end of that pasuk it says Baal Hasher Naki. Extra words that the Baal Hasher is clean now. So it was different shittas before in the Gemara. What exactly we darshan from this? Here the Gemara is going to bring another two opinions about this. Tanya Dach, we learned in another brayso when it says in the pasuk Baal Hasher Naki that the owner of this ox goes out clean. Rabbi Yosef Glili says what this pasuk is coming to say is Naki midmei vlodos. When a shur gores and kills, you don't have to pay the money of a pregnancy that was lost, the children, the baby that was lost in a pregnancy. What does this mean? Earlier there in the parasha, this is in Parashas Mishpatim. It speaks over there about a case where two people were fighting, and then his wife came along, one of their wives came along, and then by mistake, or maybe not by mistake, it's a machlokes about this, he hit his wife and she lost the baby. So over there the pasuk says that you have to pay for what happened, for the pregnancy that was lost. Afterwards over here, later, the pasuk over here talks about v'chiyigach shur, if a shur gores. And in the end of this pasuk where it talks about the shur that gores, it says Baal Hasher Naki. So Rabbi Yosef Glili says, the drasha over here is saying that when the shur gores this woman and she loses the pregnancy, so in such a case, you don't have to pay for the lost pregnancy. When do you have to pay? If it's a person that went and hit and then caused the loss of the pregnancy. But if it happened through an ox, you don't have to pay for the lost pregnancy. That's Rabbi Yosef Glili's drasha. Amalei Rabbi Akiva, so Rabbi Akiva says that for this, you don't need the drasha from the words Baal Hasher Naki. It's self-understood from the parasha over there, where it talks about the story of two men fighting with one another. What does it say there? The pasuk there says, Ki yinatzu anoshim, that if there are people that are fighting, and then v'nakfu isha, one of them went and hit this woman. So over there, it says that there are men that are fighting. And that's what, over there, in that context of that story, the pregnancy was lost. Anoshim v'lo shvarim. So that's only if the men that were fighting, and then there was a pregnancy that's lost. So for that, you have to pay. But you see that if it's oxen that were fighting and then the woman came to protect and she lost her pregnancy, over there you don't have to pay for it. So you don't need this pasuk of Baal Hasher Naki to say that there's your potter. You can learn that from that parsha itself. So that's the brayse here. This is the question Rabbi Akiva asked and Rabbi Yosef Glili. So the Gemara says, Shape Kama Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is asking a good question on Rabbi Yosef Glili. What would he answer to this question? Why do you need the drasha of Baal Hasher Naki? Why can't you learn it from the word Anoshim v'lo shvarim? Amar Rav Ule Berei de Ravidi. So Rav Ule Berei de Ravidi answers as follows. Itztrich, I need this drasha of Baal Hasher Naki. Why? Because otherwise, if I would just learn it from the pasuk of Anoshim, then I would say that Anoshim, when you darshan over there, that only by Anoshim, when the men were fighting, then you chai for the vlodos, for the dmei vlodos. That's Anoshim v'loi shvarim hadoimim la'anoshim. I would exclude that if you're talking about oxen that are similar to men, then they're going to be potter. What does it mean, oxen that are similar to men? Ma anoshim muadin, just like these men that are fighting, they're always muad. They always have to pay full pay for whatever damage they cause. Av shvarim, the shvarim that we're excluding here in this pasuk that are potter muadin. That's only a shayr that's already a muad, a shayr that has to pay nezek shalim. So here the pasuk is excluding that you would be potter. Ha tam, but if it's a shayr that's still a tam and you only have to pay chatzi nezek mechayev. Maybe for the shayr tam that gored and caused the loss of this pregnancy, maybe you would have to be chayev to pay chatzi nezek. So I wouldn't learn out from anoshim v'lo shvarim to pater the shayr tam. I would say maybe only the muad is potter.
But Adam is muad. Why would you say that the shar? If you say shram adam the Adam, you can say the Adam is a muad, is chayev.
Yeah, but the
shar is not muad.
Only the shar which is like an Adam. Again, what's the Gemara saying? Only the shar which is like an Adam. If we're making a miyut, the miyut is similar to what the pasuk itself is speaking about. The anoshim in the pasuk which are muadin are chayev. The shvarim which are similar to Adam will be potter, and that's a shar. That's a muad. But a shur tam maybe would be chayiv for the dmei vlodos. So I don't have a clear drasha here to be memayit that by a shur that gores and causes the loss of the pregnancy that you would be potter by a tam.
I hear what you're saying. But
one second.
But the short punk faket.
So let's see what the Gemara will say. So Kasav Rachmana. So therefore, here the Torah has to say, Bal Asher Naki the Potter. So the pasuk has to say this over here when it says Bal Asher Naki. Here, this pasuk actually is talking about Asher Tam. And here the pasuk is saying that not only the muad will be Potter, but the tam that causes the loss of the pregnancy will also be Potter. That's why I need this drasha of Bal Asher Naki. That's the answer for Rabbi Yossi Aglili, why it's not enough to learn it out from Anoshim v'lo Shvarim, and you have to have Bal Asher Naki. But this Gemara asks, Amarove, or others are greatest here, Amarabe, he asked on this pshat, how could you say such a thing? And he says the following expression, Yitzive ba'ara, the citizen, you put down all the way on the ground, V'giyura b'shmei shmaya, and the foreigner you lift up all the way to the heavens. It's an expression to say that the person that belongs above you put below, and the one that's below you put above. What it's asking is, what are you telling me? That from Anoshim v'lo Shvarim I would learn how to say that if a shar mu'ed gores and causes a loss of the v'lodois, then you're going to be potter. But by a tam, then you're going to be chayev. How could you say such a thing? It's always the other way around. By a tam, you're always going to be potter. If a mu'ed is potter, for sure a tam would be potter. There's no room to say that I would have thought that for mu'ed you're going to be potter and for a sure tam you would be chayev. Never works that way. Okay, so therefore, Ella Omar Rava or Rabba. So therefore he says, you're right. So Taka, the reason you need the pasuk Bal Asher Naki is a bit different. It's tzrich. I need this pasuk for the following reason. I would think to say, when it says in the pasuk, Ki yinotzu anoshim, that there were the men that were fighting, and I darsha from that, v'loi shvarim, that it's not by oxen, what would I say? Again, similar to before, the drasha starts similar to before. V'loi shvarim hadoimin la'anoshim, that if it's shvarim that are similar to the men that were fighting, and when is that? Ma anoshim muadin, av shvarim muadin, the men that were muadin, so you're going to be chayiv for the dmei v'lodois, the pregnancy that was lost. But the shvarim which are muadin, you're going to be potter for that. And then I would say the kal v'chomer l'tamin the petiri. And for sure, if by a muad you potter, if the shar which is a muad you potter for the pregnancy that it was lost, for sure for the tam you're going to be potter. Like the svara that Rabbi said, you can't say that for muad you'd be potter and for a tam you'd be chayiv. So if I see that for a muad you potter, for sure for the tam you potter. That's what I would learn out from the drasha of Anoshim. That any time a shar gores and causes a loss of the pregnancy, you would be potter either way. So the Kasav Rachmana Bal Asher Naki. So then the Torah over here in this parsha, when it says V'chiyigach shar, and it says Bal Asher Naki, why is it saying over here Bal Asher Naki? It's coming to tell you this parsha is actually talking only about a tam. So here it's coming to say, tam potter, if the shar which is a tam and gores and causes a loss of the pregnancy, then you're going to be potter, but a muad chayev. If the animal that did this is a shar muad, then you will be chayev. So Adarab, according to the Rabbi's pshat, it's coming to say, the reason we need this drasha of Bal Asher Naki is not coming to say that tam is going to be potter, it's coming to say that only tam is potter, but muad is still going to be chayev. That's the reason why you need this drasha, according to Rabbi Yossi Aglili. But the Gemara argues in this pshat as well. Abaye asked Rabba on this pshat, so if you're connecting these two things and you're making the drasha this way, when it says here Bal Asher Naki, these extra words goes back on the previous parsha where it speaks about the case where the two men were fighting and the pregnancy was lost. There's another detail that it speaks about in that parsha as well. In that parsha, it also speaks about the payment of baishes. That over there it also says what happens if this woman was fighting and she embarrassed one of the men. Then you have a katsaisa as kappa. You have to cut off her hand, which doesn't literally mean to cut off her hand. It means the payment of baishes. So the Gemara asks, if you're connecting these two parshas here to each other, gabe baishes nami, when it comes to the payment of baishes as well. So we should say the same exact thing. Anoshim v'lo shvarim. There in the parsha it says two men were fighting. So when it says men, it's coming to exclude oxen, the ox that causes a damage or causes an embarrassment. And what are we going to exclude? V'lo shvarim adoimim la'anoshim. But that by shvarim that are similar to the men that are fighting, they don't have the same payment like the men. What does that mean? Ma'anoshim muadin, av shvarim muadin. The men that are fighting are muadin, they have to pay full pay. So too the shvarim that we're excluding are also shvarim that are muadin. And then you'll say the kavachaymer letamin the petiri. Most definitely a tam that only pays less, only pays half. For sure I should learn out that should be potter. So by the men, when they're fighting with one another, and there was an embarrassment, there's a baishes, over there there's a chiyuv to pay for baishes. Not just for the damage, but you pay for the baishes. But by shvarim, a shur that causes an embarrassment, whether he's a tam, whether he's a mu'id, he doesn't have to pay for the baishas. That's if I would learn out from the word anoshim, to exclude the shvarim. But then you could say the same thing like Rabbi Yosef Lili said, Hada Kasar Rachmana Bala Shur Naki. But then over here in the parsha of the shur, where it speaks specifically about a shur tam, the Torah writes Bala Shur Naki. Why does it have to say this? It's coming to say that tam potter, that only for a tam are you going to be potter, but a mu'ud chayiv. But for mu'ud you'll be chayiv. That's the drasha the Gemara said before regarding the Dmei V'lados. So now the Gemara is asking, say the same exact drasha regarding the payment of baishas. That the fact that you're saying that a shur that causes damage is you potter to pay for the baishas, that's only if it's a shur mu'ud. But if it's a shur tam, again, that's only if it's a shur tam. Only a shur tam is potter from the baishas. But a shur mu'ud will be chayiv for baishas. So it would come out a big chiddush here. If you're going to dash in the psukim this way, that would mean that there is a payment of baishas even when a shur causes a damage and causes an embarrassment. We learned before in the Gemara many times that there's no payment for baishas, for embarrassment, unless it's a human being that embarrassed someone else. Not if you're a shur caused embarrassment to someone else. But based on the drasha that the way Rabbi explained Rabbi Yosef Glili's drasha, we're connecting these two parshas, and Bala Shur Naki is coming to say that only the tam is potter, but the mu'ud is chayiv. So you could connect it also to the payment of baishas, to say that only the mu'ud is only the tam that is potter from the baishas, but the mu'ud is chayiv in the baishas. Says the Gemara, v'chi taime hachinami. And if you'll argue and say maybe that's actually true, according to Rabbi Yosef Glili, a shur mu'ud that embarrasses someone is chayiv in baishas, because it only says noki by a tam. It can't be, because if so, that's what Rabbi Yosef Glili would have clearly said this chiddush. Listening, he should have said, Bala Shur Naki. What do I learn out when it says here, Bala Shur Naki? Rabbi Yosef Glili Oimed, that Rabbi Yosef Glili says, Potter midmei v'lados, that only the tam is potter to pay for the lost pregnancy, umi baishas, and is potter also to pay from the baishas. He should have spelled this out clearly, that only a shur tam that gores and causes a loss of a pregnancy, you're potter. But the mu'ed is chayev. And the same thing regarding baishas. Only the shur tam that causes a baishas, you'll be potter. But a shur mu'ed that causes a baishas, you'd be chayev. You should have spelled this out clearly. So this can't be the pshat, because this comes out of chiddush regarding baishas, and Rabbi Yosef Glili never said this. So there has to be a different pshat in what he's saying. Elo, says the Gemara, Abaye v'Rove d'Amri Tarvaya. Abaye and Rave both say that there's a different pshat over here. Why? Again, this is to answer Rabbi Akiva's question. Why do you need a pasuk of Bala Shur Naki if I could already learn out from Kiyinotzu Anoshim? It clearly says Anoshim, that only by men you're chayev for the Dmei V'lados and not by the Shur. Why do you need another pasuk here of Bala Shur Naki? So Abaye and Rave said the pshat is different. Because if I would only learn out from the word Anoshim, I would say as follows. Anoshim, when it comes to men that are fighting with one another. So Ein Osein Be'isha, if there was no Osein, if there was no tragedy that happened regarding the Isha, that the woman did not get killed, then you're onshu. Then there's an einish that they have to pay for any damages that they cause to one another. However, yesh Osein Be'isha, if there's a tragedy here and this woman gets killed, Lo yonshu, then they don't have to pay for any damages. What is this based on? This is the halacha of kam lei b'derabimine. If this woman got killed, so then one of these men that killed this woman, so he's chayiv misa for killing the woman. Once he's chayiv misa, you don't have to pay any money for any of the damages. Once you chayiv misa, there's no chiyuv of money. Kam lei b'derabimine. So here, what the pasuk is saying is, if there's a asaim be'isha, so then there's no payment of money. If there's no Asim Bisha, if the woman was not killed, so then you pay for the damages. That's the halacha b'negei to the men that are fighting with one another. So now, if you want to exclude shvarim, to say that shvarim do not have the halacha of the men, v'loi shvarim, and not shvarim, what would I say? Lav dafke, I would learn out from here to say that the shvarim are potter. Adarabah, maybe I would learn out from here that shvarim, but that by oxen, they're different than men, and you'll always be chayiv. And I would say as follows: V'loi shvarim, the afagav, the yesh osayin, that when an ox gores and even kills, it doesn't make a difference. Even if the shar killed the woman, the afagav, the yesh osayin, ye onshu, still you have to pay. So Rabbi Akiva is saying that you could learn out from anoshim v'loi shvarim to say that by men you chayiv for the dmei v'lados. By the shvarim, you're going to be potter. So Abai and Rava say, no. The drasha could actually work the other way around. By anoshim, sometimes you chayiv and sometimes you potter. It depends if you would say kamli b'derabimine. V'loi shvarim, but by shvarim, when a shayr gores and kills, you'll always be chayiv. Because when a shor gores, there is no kamle b'derab minay. So in such a case, you always have to pay. That's if I would learn out from the word anoshim. Hada kosav rachmone bal asher noki. So therefore, the Torah has to write then bal asher noki to say what? The potter. To tell me that no, the shor that gores and causes the loss of the pregnancy, that you'll be potter. So you can't learn out from anoshim, v'loy shvarim. From where there, I would think you chayiv. So you have to learn out from bal asher noki to say that you're potter. That's Abai and Rav's pshat. Now this, Maskefla Ravada Barave asks on this pshat, that this distinction over here, that when it comes to men that are fighting, and it depends whether the woman got killed or not, or whether there was a loss of pregnancy or not. So Ravada Barave asks, Otu ba'osim talya milsa? Does it depend on whether there was a osain, meaning whether the woman got killed or not? Whether you have to pay money here for this or not? That's not what it depends on at all. B'chavana talya milsa. It's totally in kavana. So Rashi brings that this is the Gemara in Sanhedrin, that the Gemara here is going according to the opinion of Rab Shimon. The Gemara over there says that even if a woman got killed, not necessarily does that mean that you'll be potter to pay because of kamle b'derabim mineh. Why? Because when the woman gets killed, if one of the men killed a woman but it was unintentional, he meant to hit his friend, and by mistake he hit his wife and killed the wife instead, because he wasn't machavim for that, you're not going to be chayiv misa. So whether there was a asain, whether there wasn't a asain, either way, even if the woman got killed, still you're going to have to pay money. Because if it was unintentional, so then there's no chiyuv misa, and you still have to pay. So if so, since whether there is a asain, whether there's no asain, by anoshim, there's always a chiyuv to pay. So if you're being memayit shvarim, if you're being mayit that oxen, when they gore and they cause they kill or they damage, that over there you're going to be potter. What's the meat? The meat is going to have to be a ptur. By the men that are fighting with one another, whether there is a asain, whether there isn't, they're always chayiv. But by the shvarim, for loy shvarim, that's going to be a miyah to say that by the shvarim you're potter. So you can't say the teretz. Rav Ada Barav said that from this pasuk I would have thought to say that for the shvarim you're chayiv. Unlike by the man that you would be potter when there is an asain. So Rav Ada Barav asks that, but this is not true. By the men that are fighting with one another, whether there is a asain, whether there isn't, you're always going to be chayiv to pay. Because it's not totally in that, it's totally in kavana. As long as it's something that happens shaloi b'chavana, either way, the men are always going to be chayiv to pay the money. So if so, the miyot of v'loi shvarim means that the shvarim are potter. So the question comes back, why do you need Baal Asher Noki to say that by Asher you potter? So Ela Rav Ada Barave says, and according to Rashi's pshat, Rav Ada Barave is basically saying very similar teretz to Abaye and Rava. But instead of saying that by the men, it depends on whether the woman got killed or not, it doesn't depend on that. It depends on whether it was b'chavana or shalei b'chavana. So therefore, Rav Ada Barave says as follows. Anoshim, when the Torah says these men are fighting with one another, ki niskavnu zel lezeh, when they're fighting with one another, and they didn't have any intention to kill this woman, afal gav sheyesh osem v'isha, even if this woman that got mixed in over here, she got killed unintentionally, yei onshu. These men are going to have to pay for the damages or the injury that they caused to one another. Why? Because the woman got killed shaloi b'chavana. As long as she got killed shaloi b'chavana, so the man or a man that killed her is not going to be chayiv misa, so he's going to have to pay for the damages. However, ki niskavnu liisha, if this woman mixed herself into the fight and then one of the men intentionally went and hit her and killed her, the isha atzma, so it happened intentionally, then lo yeyonshu. Then the man that killed her will not have to pay for any of the injury, any of the damages, because he's chayiv misa. That's what the pasuk is saying regarding the men. And then when I exclude and say v'loy shvarim, that shvarim don't have the same, then they're different, what would I say? What's the exclusion? Maybe I could say the exclusion is coming to say that by shvarim you're always going to be chayiv. That these oxen that were goring, even if the oxen that directly wanted to hit this isha, you still always will have to pay, because over here there's no chiyuv misa, so therefore the shvarim you'll always have to pay for it. You don't say kamli b'derabimene when it comes to a shir. So again, the Rav Ada Barav is saying the same point, that the miyut of anoshim v'loy shvarim, lav dafke, it's coming to say that the shvarim would be potter. I can tell you the opposite, that it's coming to say that by the men, there's a case that you would be potter. When there's a kamle b'derabimine. But by the shvarim, you'd be chayiv. Even if the shar killed the isha, he'll still be chayiv. So from there, can't learn out any petur for the shvarim that gore and cause the loss of a pregnancy. So therefore, kasav rachmane bal asher naki de petiri. So therefore, Rabbi Yosef Glili says you need the drasha of bal asher naki to come and teach us that when a shir comes and gores a isha and causes a loss of pregnancy, that you'll be potter for this. That's why you have to have this drasha. You can't learn it out from anoshim v'lo shvarim. The Gemara concludes, V'chen ki asa Rav Chagi medroime. Rav Chagi came from the south. Asa, so he came. V'aisi masnita biyodei. He brought a braisa in his hands. Kavasei de Rav Ada bar Ave, where it says the pshat explaining Rav Yossi Aglili's drasha of the pasuk of Bal Asher Naki, exactly like Rav Ada bar Ave explained it. Okay, so this is the conclusion of explaining Rav Yossi Aglili's drasha. The Gemara brings another drasha now. This is Rabbi Akiva himself. How did Rabbi Akiva himself? Rabbi Akiva disagreed with Rabbi Yossi Aglili. How did Rabbi Akiva, that is darshan? You mind closing the door, please? Thank you. How did Rabbi Akiva himself darshan the pasuk of Bal Asher Naki? So Tanya Idach. Now we learned in another brayse Bal Asher Naki. These extra words of Bal Asher Naki, that he's clear. He doesn't have to pay. Doesn't have to pay for what? What is it talking about? Rabbi Akiva says Naki midmei eved. He doesn't have to pay the money that you usually have to pay by an eved. What does this Rashi mean? We learned before, when a shor gores and kills an eved, what's the payment for that? You have to pay 30 sloim. Regardless of what the value of this eved kanani is, there's a knas that Torah says you have to pay the same amount, always 30 sloim. So over here, this parsha is talking about the shor that was a tam. When the shor is a tam, here the pasuk is saying, Bal Asher Naki, when it gores as a tam and kills the eved, you don't have to pay those 30 sloim. You only have to pay if the shor is a muad, but not if it's a tam. That's Rabbi Akiva's drasha. Frag the Gemara, how could Rabbi Akiva say you need a pasuk to darshan that the shor tam is potter to pay this 30 coins for this eved that got killed? The name of Rabbi Akiva l'nafshei. Rabbi Akiva should ask on himself. He should say to himself, you don't need a drasha for this. V'haloi atzmoi ein mishtalim ela migufoi. You don't pay by a shor tam. Any payment that comes from a shor tam, where does the payment come from? It doesn't come from cash. It doesn't come from the best properties that the damager has. It comes from the body of the animal itself. So if you don't pay only migufay, so haviyu lebezin v'yishalom loch, bring it to the bezin and you'll get paid. What it means to say is you can't bring it to the bezin to get paid. Why? Because a shor tam that kills an eved kanani, what do you have to do with the actual shor itself? The shor itself has to be put to death. Has to be stoned to death. So the shor tam itself has no value. So how would you be able to collect this payment from this shor tam to pay for the 30 coins for the eved that got killed if the shor itself has to be put to death? You don't need any drasha for this. Now the Gemara here is saying Rabbi Akiva should say this l'nafshei is because before in the Gemara on Daf Mem Aleph, this is the question that Rabbi Akiva himself asked on Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer before on Daf Mem Aleph said that a shor that gores someone as a tam, a yid that it is, gores a yid as a tam and kills him, what's usually the halacha? You have to pay the payment of a kaifer. And Rabbi Eliezer says, from this pasuk, Bal Asher Naki, you learn out that by a shor tam, there's no payment of kaifer. Kaifer is a shor muad, you pay the full kaifer. There's no payment of a half a kaifer by a shor tam. And there, Rabbi Akiva asked Rabbi Eliezer, what do I need a drasha for? If it's a shor tam, since this shor tam is being put to death, and you only collect the payment by a tam from the body of the animal itself, but if it's being put to death, it has no value, so you can't collect from the shor tam. Rabbi Akiva here is basically now saying the same thing regarding the shor that gored an eved. So how could you collect the money from the shor tam when you gore the eved as well? The same question Rabbi Akiva can ask on himself. So the Gemara answers, Omer Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak. So Rav Shmuel bar Rav Yitzchak says, we can say, Kishekodam bailo v'shachtei. What would happen if the owner of this shor that Gordon killed this eved went and immediately took this shor and shechted it? And now it has kosher meat to eat from it, and this meat has value. When did he shecht it? He shechted it even before it was brought to Bezdin. Before there was a psak din, that it has to be stoned to death. At that point he went, if it was, now the Gemara already explained before, if he shechted it after there was a psak din from Bezdin, that it has to be stoned to death, and you shechted it, it's already osir ba'achile, it's osir ba'hano. But he shechted it before it was brought to Bezdin. So therefore over here it has value. So I would think to say l'shtalamine. So maybe you should collect the payment of the 30 coins for this eved from the value of this meat that's now shechted, and it's edible, it's good, it's kosher meat. So maybe you could collect from there, and it's still mutter b'achile, mutter b'hana. Kamash malan. So therefore, the Rabbi Akiva says we learn out from the pasuk over here to say that Hoyel ubar ketaluhu, since this shirt has to be put to death, afagav the shachte, even though you went and shechted it before it was brought to the bezdin, lo yishtalamine. You cannot get paid the 30 coins for the eved that got killed from this meat here that was shechted before. That's why you need this pasuk. So the Gemara asks, Ihachi, if this is the pshat over here, why you need a pasuk according to Rabbi Akiva, le Rabbi Eliezer nami. You could say the same thing according to Rabbi Eliezer, as I mentioned. Rabbi Eliezer darshans this pasuk bal asher noki b'chlal v'negeh to the payment of kaifer, that there's no payment of kaifer for a tam. When there's a half a payment of kaifer, there's no such a thing. And over there, Rabbi Akiva asked the question. You can't collect the tam from the body of the animal because it has to be put to death. But you could answer the same answer according to Rabbi Eliezer, that it was shechted before there was a din taira about this, before there was any psak din. So that's when you need a pasuk to teach me that you don't collect the payment from the meat of this animal that was shechted. So why did Rabbi Akiva ask on Rabbi Eliezer? If he knows the answer on himself, you have to say this answer on his own drasha, Rabbi Akiva's own drasha. So you have the same drasha, you have the same answer for Rabbi Eliezer. So the Gemara answers, Hachanami, you're right. You have the same answer for Rabbi Eliezer. So why did Rabbi Akiva ask on him? So the Gemara says very interesting. V'sava, Rabbi Akiva thought, Dilme isle taima achrine do odif mahai. Maybe Rabbi Akiva was asking him because maybe he had a better answer than this answer that we said here, according to Rabbi Akiva. Maybe Rabbi Eliezer has a better answer to explain how you could collect a payment from a shir tam if that shir tam has to be put to death. And maybe he's gonna give this answer. But now the Gemara explains, Rabbi Eliezer himself did not give this answer. Rabbi Eliezer, when he wanted to explain how you could collect from a shir tam that has to be put to death, so how you collect it from its body itself, if it's asa b'achila, asa b'hano, Rabbi Eliezer gave a different answer. So the Gemara asks, Rabbi Eliezer nami lishani le shekodem v'shachta. Why didn't Rabbi Eliezer give this answer that it was shachted before there was a gemar din in the bezdin, and therefore it still has value, you can still use the meat? So the Gemara says, Omar loch, Rabbi Eliezer will tell you, this answer is not a good answer. Why not? The answer Rabbi Eliezer himself gave before are different answers. Hasam hu deniskaven lariges beheme v'hariges adam. If you remember, the Gemara before in the Aleph said, what was Rabbi Eliezer's answer? That we're talking about a case where the shirt itself does not have to be put to death at all. Why? Because it intended to kill an animal, and it ended up killing a human being. So in such a case, the shor lav bakataluhu, this shor does not have to be put to death at all klal. The sol kedaitach minutes, in such a case where the shor itself does not have to be put to death at all, then I would think mechayev, that maybe if it's a shor tam, you have to pay the kaifer and you collect the kaifer from the body of the animal itself. This is a case where the animal itself does not have to be put to death at all. So it's in that case where you need a pasuk to say that there's no payment of kaifer from a shor tam. Over here, though, the answer that the Gemara said before, according to Rabbi Akiva, what did we say? It's talking about a shur that does have to be put to death. Elamai, this person chapt arayin and shechted it before it was brought to the bezdin. But really, it's a shur that killed someone and has to be put to death. The meikare bar katala have. So really, this is a shur that's supposed to be put to death. So in such a case, you don't need any pasuk to say that you can't collect the payment of the kaifer or the payment for the eved, the 30 coins that you have to pay for eved, afagav the shachte, even though it was shechted before it was brought to the bezdin, because we know now it's nisbara. What's the story with this shur? This shur is a shur that gored and killed a person or killed the eved and it has to be put to death. So there's no half minute to say that you would collect the payment of the kaifer or the payment for the eved from this shur. So that's not a good answer. That's what Rabbi Eliezer did not give that answer. So the Gemara asks on this, but according to Rabbi Akiva, this should definitely be true as well. We can't give this answer. We said that the person went and shechted it before he brought it to the bezdin. It's a shur that's supposed to be put to death, so you can't collect from it anything. Why do you need a pasuk to say that you don't pay the knas by the eved, the 30 coins? So the Gemara answers, Elam Ravasi. So Ravasi says as follows: Hi Milsa mipi de Gavre Rabbi Shmieli. I heard the explanation of this, to answer this according to Rabbi Akiva. I heard the explanation from a great individual. Umana, who is this great individual? Rabbi Yosi Barab Chanina. I heard it from Rabbi Yosi Barab Chanina. And what did Rabbi Yosi Barab Chanina explain? He says as follows: Sol kedai t'chamina. I would think to say as follows, that Hoyel v'Amar Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva's opinion is different than everyone else when it comes to a shir tam. Av tam shechaval ba'adam, a shir tam that injured a person, mishalem b'moisar nezek shalim. So if there was a fight between this shir tam and this person, and the person injured the shir tam, and the shir tam injured the person, so now you have to evaluate the difference of the of what each one has to pay to the other. So, but Rabbi Kiva says, just like the person that injured the shir tam has to pay nezek shalim, the shir tam that injured the person also has to pay nezek shalim. This is the chiddush of Rabbi Kiva. The whole halacha that a shir tam pays chatzi nezek is only when it injures someone's property or injures another animal. But if it injures a person, even the shir tam pays nezek shalim. So if so, I could say mishtalim nami demei eved, that this shir tam that killed this eved, maybe you should have to pay the payment of the shloishim slaim, the coins that you have to pay for the death of this eved, even though usually the payment of a tam comes from the body of the ox itself, and this ox has to be put to death. But I would say that according to Rabbi Kiva, may aliyah, you pay even by the shir tam, you don't pay from the body of the eved itself, you pay from the best of his properties. Why is that? Just like Rabbi Kiva says, that by the shir tam that injures a person, you don't pay chatzi nezek. You pay nezek shalim, like a mu'ed. So too, maybe Rabbi Kiva holds that you don't pay from the body of the shir itself, you pay from the best of the properties of the masik. So therefore, you should have to pay the 30 coins that you have to pay for killing this eved. So according to Rabbi Kiva, there is such a havamina. If you don't hold like Rabbi Kiva and the payment comes from the shir itself, so then there's no way you can pay if the shir has to be put to death, and it's asa b'hana. But according to Rabbi Kiva, he holds that a shir that gores a person, you pay nezek shalim, and maybe you pay also min aliyah, just like a mu'ed. So maybe you should have to pay the payment for this eved. So therefore, Kosev Rachmone, Balasher Noki, that's the pasuk Balasher Noki that says that no, that when it gores an eved, it kills the eved while it was a tam, you don't have to pay for this. That's the pshat according to Rabbi Kiva. So the whole question doesn't come up. Dafka Rabbi Kiva l'shitasei. So the Gemara answers, the Gemara asks rather on this answer, Rab Zera asks Ravasi on this answer, but it's not true though. According to Rabbi Kiva, it doesn't go so far. Rabbi Kiva broke his fist. What this means to say is, Rabbi Kiva said this chiddush that a shir tam pays nezek shalem when it gores a person, but you don't pay min aliyah. You don't pay from the best of the properties of the mazik. You still only pay from the body of this shir itself. The Tanya, as we learned in the Braise, Rabbi Kiva said, Yochel yishalim min aliyah. I would think that in such a case where the shir tam injured the person, so Rabbi Kiva holds you pay full pay. You would think that you also collect the payment from aliyah, from the best of the properties, and not from the body of the ox itself, like a shir tam. Talmud Loima, what the pasuk says, Kamishpat hazeh ye asa loy, that this is the halacha that you do for it. Loy means for the migufay mishalim. You pay from the body of the ox itself. Ve'ena mishalim and aliyah. You do not pay from the best. So you see over here clearly that you have to pay from the body of the ox itself, even when it gets into a fight with a person. So you can't answer that according to Rabbi Kiva, by the shir tam that got into a fight with a person, that you're going to pay from the min aliyah, and therefore there would be a havamina to collect the payment of the 30 coins that you have to pay for an eved. If you're paying it from the body of the shir itself, how could you pay it from the body of the shir if it has to be put to death? So therefore Rava says a different shot. It's terich. You need a pasuk to say that you don't pay by a shir tam that Gordon killed an eved, even though this shir is being put to death, and you could only collect from the shir. So what do you need a pasuk for? He says it's terich. You need it for the following reason. Because I would think to say hoyel umachmireni be'eved yoser mi ben chayren. Since I see the Torah is being more stringent with a case where an Evet Kanani was killed, even more stringent than a Ben Chayrin that was killed. Where do we see that it's more stringent? So we saw this already from the Mishnah before. Sheben Chayrin, when it comes to a Yid that gets killed by a ox that Gordon killed him, Yafes Sela, whether this person that got killed was worth 1 Sela. So if he was worth 1 Sela, so how much do you have to pay for him? Nice and Sela, you have to pay his value of a Sela. Shloishim, if he was worth 30 Slayim, nice and Shloishim, you have to pay 30. That's by a Ben Chayrin, a Yid that got killed, so it goes by his value. But Ve'eved, by Eved there's a stringency. Yafa Sela, even if he was worth just 1 Sela, nice and Shloishim, you have to pay 30. So you see here that the Torah is being machmer, that for an Eved that got killed, even if he's worth much less, it doesn't matter. You always have to pay this knas of 30 coins. So if so, I would think, mishtalim, because I see this chumre, So mishtalim nami demei eved min ha'aliyah, even though usually a shirt tam only pays from the guf of the shirt itself that damage. But over here, since I see this stringency that you always have to pay shloishim, maybe I would think over here by the shirt tam. So according to Rabbi Kiva, you would say that you have to pay from the best of your properties and not from the shirt itself. So therefore, even though the shirt itself is being put to death, but you still should have to pay the 30 coins min ha'aliyah. So therefore, Kasav Rachmana, the Torah has to say Balasher Naki. The Torah has to say Balasher Naki that no, that the owner of this shirt tam that Gordon killed the Eved, you do not have to pay. So this is the reason why Rabbi Kiva holds you need a special pasuk, because by an Eved it's different. By an Eved there's a chumrah. So the Gemara now brings a brayse that supports this pshat. Tanya Kavasei de Rove, and a brayse it says like this pshat: Bal Asher Naki. What do you learn out from Bal Asher Naki? Rabbi Kiva says Naki midemei Evet. It means that you don't have to pay the usual payment that a shirt that gores and kills an Evet. You have to pay the 30 coins. You don't have to pay it. And on this it's asked, but v'aloi dinu, why don't we compare to a case where shirt gores and kills a yid? You see that you have to pay when the shirt gores and kills an evet. And you have to pay when the shirt kills a ben chayrin, kills a yid. It's a free man. Just like when it comes to killing a yid. The tam and muad are not the same. By a muad, you have to pay the kaifer. By the time, you don't have to pay the kaifer. So, afkeshachayev be'eved, shouldn't I compare and say that the same thing applies to the eved, and I should say, nachalik ben tam l'muad, we should compare and say that also, only the muad pays kaifer, or by the eved, it's not kaifer, only by the muad you pay the 30 coins, and by the time you don't. Why do I need a special pasuk to say that when a gores and kills an eved, that you would be potted to pay the coins? Furthermore, the Brisa says, v'oi, kavachaymer, I can tell you that there's a kavachaymer. Uma ben chayrin shenoisen kol shavyoi. If when it comes to a ben chayrin, and the Torah says you have to pay his full value of this ben chayrin, this yid that got killed, but nevertheless chilakta ben tam l'muad, you make a distinction between the tam and the muad, and you say that you only have to pay when the animal that Gordon killed is a muad, but not by a tam. Eved she'ein enaisen el shloishim. So by an eved we only pay 30 coins, and you don't always pay the full value. Ein edin shenachlik by ben tam l'muad. Wouldn't you say that it's the same din by a eved that you have to pay only by a muad and not by a tam? That's the kavachaymer that the Brisa asks on Rabbi Kiva. Why do you have to learn out an extra special pasuk to say that when you kill a eved that you'd be potter? So the Brisa there continues and says the svara that the Gemara said before, loy, that this is not so. Machmireni be'eved yosem ben chayren. The Torah is actually being more stringent regarding a eved more than a ben chayren. Why? Ben chayren, because when it comes to a yid that's free, yafasela, noisen sela, shloishim, and noisen shloishim. So it depends on the value of the person that got killed. Whether you can pay only a sela if he was only worth a sela. You only pay 30 if he's worth 30. But ve'eved, when you kill a eved kanani, yafasela, noisen shloishim, even if he's just worth a sela, you pay 30 coins. So adarabba, I see that by a eved kanani, the Torah is even more machmer. So the point is, I can't learn out from the fact that a shirt tam that gores and kills a yid, that you potted to pay the kaifer, to say that the same should apply by the eved. By the eved, there's more of a chumrah. So yachal yechayiv. I would think that a shirt tam that gores and kills the eved, you should be chayiv. Therefore, the Torah has to say, Balashar Naki, what does it say? Naki midmei eved. That you don't have to pay the payment for an eved, even though we see that the Torah is more stringent with an eved than it is with a ben chayrin. So this is the exact pshat that the Gemara said before, according to Rabbi Kiva. So here in this brayse, it's spelled out this way.